So finally, it's taper time for London Marathon, or is it? So in less than 3 weeks' time, I'm going to be running a London Marathon with a bunch of you guys out there, and I am super excited. Tapering is one of those things that over time we start to dial in, and over recent marathons, I feel I've managed to get it just about right, but this time I'm going to be doing things slightly differently. I want to tell you exactly what they are, why I'm doing it, but first, let me explain what I would normally do. So let's go through what I would normally do, and for that, let me explain my structure of my weekly cycle. At the moment, it's an easy Monday, it's then a steady long run Tuesday, I should say medium long run, and then an easy double in the evening. That is usually around 30 to 40 minutes, nothing too much more. Session on Wednesday, so that's the first half of my week sorted. I then rest on Thursday, I then do a steady run on the Friday, and I do a long run workout on the Saturday, and I rest on Sunday. And so with that in mind, weeks 3 to 2, so the week that I'm in right now, things really wouldn't change that much. Volume would normally come down a small amount and intensity would come down a small amount, but in terms of the session itself, that really wouldn't change too much. Just maybe, let's say last week I did 15k's worth of work, this week I would normally do sort of like 10 or 12k's worth of work, but there'd still be a good chunk of work in there. The main difference this week would be something like the long run, which I will actually be doing, is the volume is high, but the intensity of it is a lot lower. So last weekend I did some marathon pace intervals within my long run and really kind of got that side of things working. Whereas this week, it's more going to be a moderate intensity long run, still a long time on feet. For me personally, I would still look for around a good 2.5 hours, but it would just have some maybe surges in there of some small timed intervals rather than specific marathon pace chunks, because ultimately within 3 weeks of a race, we can't gain anything in terms of fitness. We're just looking effectively to tick over, not become sluggish, and to keep sharp. So that's what the aim is, and that's what I would normally do between weeks 3 and 2. And then between weeks 2 and 1, this is when things would change a little bit more. The first part of the week for me, the easy and the medium long run, wouldn't change too much. The timings would come down. So at the moment I'm doing 90 minutes on a Monday and 90 on a Tuesday. Obviously one's an easy intensity, one's a moderate. I would maybe bring them down to 80. But things wouldn't change too much in the first part of the week. The session, however, let's say would come down to around 6 to 8k's worth of work. So it'd still be a decent session, but the intensity again is a lot less. And then as I get towards the end of the week, that's when things taper down, and my long run would probably just be around 80 minutes. And then in the final week, the final 7 days, I usually start off with a 60-minute easy run, and I would do a 60-minute steady run. So those have come down drastically. And then again from there, things really do taper down. My session in the past, one of my go-to sessions, and I give this to my athletes quite a bit actually, is something like either 4 by 3 minutes or 4 by a mile, or a variety of 4 by something, where you're just getting in a small amount of work. And I tend to, me personally, do that on a Wednesday, and then after that I'll rest Thursday. I'll do a small run, 40-45 minutes on a Friday, a 30-minute plus stride shakeout on a Saturday, and then I would do obviously the race on Sunday. So what am I doing differently to what I would normally do? Well, I'll put the why after this section. Let me explain what I'm going to be doing. And in weeks 2 to 3, which is the week I'm in right now, things really aren't going to change. I'm going to try and sort of almost replicate the previous week, just get another good week of training under my belt. What I will do, however, is I will just reduce the intensity slightly. So I do intend on taking my Wednesday session as sort of like a 12k session rather than a 15 like last week. And I will do the long run similar to what I have done in the past. But for example, when I'm just gently reducing just a tiny bit in terms of the overall volume of the week, I don't plan on doing that at all this week. So this week will very much hopefully be a 70+ mile week, just like it was last week. It's just going to be the intensity is slightly less, mainly because it's not going to benefit me to do any marathon pace intervals this weekend, because it's not going to have any impact on London. And I am still conscious of the fact that I don't want to overcook myself for London, but I do still want to get in some good volume whilst I can. Then that leads me into week 1 and 2, where things will change around about 10 days out. So I fully intend on keeping the first part of weeks 2 to 1 exactly the same. I might drop it 10 minutes. I might go to 80 and 80 rather than 90, but if I do 90, that's absolutely fine. I'm really not going to worry. And then I'm going to get my last good session done on the Wednesday. Again, it's probably going to be 8 to 10 Ks worth of work, maybe even 12. I've got my sessions all penciled in. I just haven't added it all up at the moment, and I am still tinkering with them because I do have my eyes further ahead. And that's going to come into the Y shortly. And then after that, then I'll start to do a bit of a taper down. I will start to reduce the volume on the Friday and the Saturday. I will probably still do like a 90-minute run on the Saturday rather than an 80. And I will throw a little bit of marathon pace work in there just for the muscle memory and to keep my body remembering exactly what it feels like to run marathon pace. And then in the final week, I probably will follow protocol and sort of start with a 60 or 70-minute run and then just gently bring it down. So effectively what I plan to do after explaining all of that is really do kind of a 10-day taper rather than start it 3 weeks out. That's going to be the plan. That's going to be the goal. I'm going to see how my body reacts, and I have nothing to lose at the moment, and a lot of you will be wondering why, so let me explain. So why am I approaching London this way? Why am I doing a sort of more of a 10-day taper? I will just highlight the fact that things will gently come down before that 10-day point, but much more minimally than what I would normally do, but I really will sort of taper off at that point. Why? Let's break it down into 3 reasons again. Number 1, the time off that I've had has been just too much for me to try and claw back any sort of good fitness. Over Barcelona, it was 8 days off with 1 run in the middle of that. So it was 7 days fully off. On the 8th one in the middle, just to test if I could run the half marathon, and I absolutely couldn't. So I had that off, and then I had a very gentle build back. And then I had 2 weeks later, another 5 days off as I got hit with a second virus. So my Strava graph doesn't actually look too bad if you look at it, and the volume doesn't look too bad. It looks like I've got 2 little dips in there and that's it, but ultimately it kind of masks the bigger picture where some of those voluminous weeks are just easy and moderate miles, and although that's what gets you round London, it's not what gets you into racing shape. It will allow me to run London but effectively not to race it, and obviously that's what I want to do. I'm a competitive runner and I want to go there and race it. And number 2, I'm enjoying the high volume weeks at the moment. This is kind of a side note, but this has kind of been point proven this morning actually for me. I was kind of thinking it already last week, but my medium long run today, massive heart rate drop, massive effort level drop for a pace conversion. So 2 weeks ago when I produced a video saying that I'd gone downhill again, is this a third virus? I think I did my medium long run in like 720 per mile. Heart rate was 150 beats a minute, which is very much top end of zone 2. And I can guarantee you a lot of that was well over that into zone 3 as well. Fast forward 2 weeks, 657 per mile, 145 average heart rate. That's the type of heart rate that I always strive for in these medium long runs and my moderate runs. So to get back under the 7s, that's over a 20-second per mile drop. 20-second per mile faster and a 5 beats a minute drop. That's huge. That for me is again justifying this decision that for me I'm working well with the high volume, and my decision, or not my decision, but my focus actually has already turned to the summer. And so that's point 3. I got to past Barcelona and I got to the point where I started feeling better again and I started to feel good, and then I went downhill, and I knew that, as I've just highlighted, I could get to London and run it if everything went well, and I started to recover after that, but I couldn't race it. So effectively what I'm doing right now is getting myself aerobically fit as best as possible so that I can go and run London, and I'll talk about race tactics shortly and a potential meetup on the Saturday for a shakeout run, but the goal is just to go there and just run to the shape that I'm in, and the focus is very much now on summer. I'm already planning my summer races. I wouldn't be as distracted. I think a lot of you are probably going to sit there, and I fully appreciate it. Trust me, thinking, hold on a minute, just enjoy London. Yes, trust me, I am over the moon that I am able to get to London after what I've been through. I'm very, very grateful. But I have to be honest with you, I am a competitive runner. I'm looking forward to being competitive again. And I think after this morning's run, it gave me so much hope that I'm now, what I would say, aerobically fit. I just need to sharpen up, and then I feel like I'll be able to drop back in to some races. Speaking of which, I do indeed have a 5k in less than 2 weeks time. Got that a week before London, but overall I am thinking about what's in the summer, and I want to utilize this time now whilst I'm in marathon training to get some higher miles in. And I think the final thing to note is that I'm not balls deep in fatigue like a lot of you guys are. You're probably so grateful that the taper's here. I know a lot of my athletes are. They're very grateful. They've put in some incredible work. I'm watching a lot of you guys out there. You've put in some amazing work. For me, I feel fresh as a daisy. I feel really good. I feel ready to go. I feel like I haven't even done a marathon training block. It's just the weirdest thing. Having done a 20-week series, to have this kind of hiccup at this point in the training block very much feels like I had to push the reset button towards the end of the training block, and now I'm just getting going again. So there is that to factor in as well. My legs feel good. And so, as I said, I feel like I'm just going to rock up to London and have an absolute blast. I want to go round with a smile on my face. And in terms of racing tactics, let's talk about that. So last year I ran Newport and I started off like a 6:30 mile, a 6:20 or a 19, a 6:14. So after 3 miles, I then locked into marathon pace. I then ran sort of 10 miles around 6:04, 6:05 average pace. And then ran the next 10 miles at like 5:59 per mile, so I tried to cut it down. That left me at 23 miles with a part run to go, and I did fade a bit at that point. I couldn't quite get that last gel down me, I couldn't stomach it, but it was a really good performance. And I plan on doing something similar at London. I plan on starting slower and working into it. The difference is this time, I don't know what the pace is going to be, and I'm not going to set myself a pace. If it's 6:10s, if it's 6:20s, that is absolutely fine. If it's 6:30s, that's fine. I don't care. What I want to achieve from this London is to go there, enjoy myself, and finish and not be absolutely beaten up, not feel like I've gone to the well, because I feel like I need to now use London not as a peak race, because I'm not in peak shape, but I want to use it as a really good hard workout and get out the other side, have a good rest and really launch into summer training. So that's going to be the racing strategy. As I said, I'll probably start off around 6:30s, maybe even 6:40s this time. Get up the first 3 miles, get down the hill at 3 miles-ish or 2.5, wherever it is, just get up the other side, and at that point, that's when I'll probably start to feel out where I think I can hold the pace, hit the lap button on my watch and try and lock into something that I feel my body will respond to. And also shakeout run details, I'm going to be probably doing some kind of shakeout run in Battersea Park, probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. I see there's going to be a ton of other people doing shakeout runs. I know there are. I'm not particularly making anything official. I'll be letting my athletes know all the details, and I'll be sure to let you guys know. I will try and firm a plan down. I will try and get something sorted out, but I'm probably just going to go to Battersea Park, because that's close to where I'm staying, and just do 3 miles plus some strides. And if anyone wants to turn up and have a jog around with me, that would be amazing. I'd love to see you there. There's plenty of other shakeout runs, as I said, but some of them are starting at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I'm just thinking, for me, that's too late. I want to get my shakeout run done, have a coffee, go home and sort of put my feet up for the rest of the day. So that's going to be the plan, but I'll share more info on that nearer at the time. So there we go. Taper plans laid out for you, so you know where we stand. And if you follow me on Strava, you don't think, whoa, hold on a minute, he shouldn't be doing that in the taper. Now you know. It's all explained. And of course, if you've got any questions, I don't mind answering them down there. I'm sure I'm going to get some people saying, oh, that's a bad idea. And some of you say, good on you, mate. You know what? We're all entitled to our opinion. That's fine. I just can't wait to launch into summer now. So that's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you in the next one. Until then.